Øresund is a strait which forms the Danish-Swedish border, separating Sjælland from Skåne. It is 4 kilometers wide at its narrowest point between Helsingør in Denmark and Helsingborg in Sweden. Øresund is one of 3 Danish straits that connect the Baltic Sea to the Atlantic Ocean via Kattegat, Skagerrak, and the North Sea, and is one of the busiest waterways in the world. The Øresund Bridge, between the Danish capital Copenhagen and the Swedish city of Malmö, inaugurated on the 1st of July 2000, connects a binational metropolitan area with close to 4 million inhabitants. The HH ferry route between Helsingør, Denmark and Helsingborg, Sweden, in the northern part of Øresund, is one of the world's busiest international ferry routes with more than 70 departures from each harbour per day. Name: the strait is called Øresund in Danish and Øresund in Swedish, informally Sundit in both languages. The first part of the name is Øresund, and the second part is Sund i.e. sound, strait. The name is first attested on a Danish runestone dated to California, AD 1000, where it is written as Øresund, read as Old East Norse, Örasundi. The Old West Norse form of the name is Øresund. The Øresund is so called because Ør is a term for a small piece of land between 2 waters, and the Øresund stretches between 2 such ears, from Sjælland's Ør to Skåne boundaries. The northern boundary between Øresund and Kattegat is a line which goes from Gilgit, Zealand's northern peak, to the westernmost point of Kulleberget, the smaller peninsula north of Helsingborg, known as Kullehalvön. In the south, the boundary towards the Baltic Sea starts at Steves Klint, at the westernmost peak of the peninsula just south of Kodje, Steves Peninsula, to Falsterbo at the Falsterbo Peninsula. Its eastern boundary is the Swedish coastline. To the west, Amager may be considered part of Øresund or a part of Zealand. Amager has 8 connections with Zealand as well as a combined motorway and dual-track railway to Scania and Sweden. Streams, animals and salinity. Øresund, like other Danish and Danish-German straits, is at the border between oceanic saltwater and the less salty Baltic Sea, as the Kattegat in the north has almost oceanic conditions and the Baltic Sea has brackish water. Øresund's water conditions are rather unusual. The streams are very complex, but the surface stream is often northbound, which gives a lower surface salinity. Those streams can change from one day to another. The average surface salinity is about 1012 psu in the southern part, but above 20 psu north of Helsingør. Near the seafloor, conditions are more stable and salinity is always oceanic below a certain depth that varies between 10 and 15 meters. In the southern part, however, the depth is 5 to 6 meters, and this is the definite border of oceanic saltwater, therefore also a border for many maritime species of animals. Only 52 known saltwater species reside in the central Baltic Sea, compared to around 1,500 in the North Sea. Close to 600 species are known to exist in at least some part of Øresund. Well-known examples, for which the bottom salinity makes a distinct breeding border, include lobster, small crabs, several species of flatfish and the lion's mane jellyfish. The latter can sometimes drift into the southwest Baltic Sea, but it cannot reproduce there. There are daily tides, but the lunar attraction cannot force much water to move from west to east, or vice versa, in narrow waters where the current is either northbound or southbound. So, not much of the difference in water levels in Øresund is due to daily tides, and other circumstances hide the little tide that still remains. The current has a much stronger effect than the tide on the water level, but strong winds may also affect the water level. During exceptional conditions, such as storms and hurricanes, oceanic water may suddenly occasionally flow into the Baltic Sea at all depths. Such events give deep waters in the southern Baltic Sea higher salinity, which makes it possible for cod to breed there. If no such inflow of oceanic water to the Baltic Sea occurs for around a decade, the breeding of cod becomes in danger. History. Political control of Øresund has been an important issue in Danish and Swedish history. Denmark maintained military control with the coastal fortress of Kronborg at Helsingør on the west side and Copenhagen at Helsingborg on the east, until the eastern shore was ceded to Sweden in 1658, based on the Treaty of Roskilde. Both fortresses are located where the strait is 4 kilometers wide. In 1429, King Erik of Pomerania introduced the sound dues, which remained in effect for more than 4 centuries. Until 1857, transitory dues on the use of waterways, roads, bridges and crossings were then an accepted way of taxing which could constitute a great part of a state's income. The strait dues remained the most important source of income for the Danish crown for several centuries, thus making Danish kings relatively independent of Denmark's privy council and aristocracy. To be independent of the Øresund, Sweden carried out 2 great projects: the foundation of Göteborg in 1621 and the construction of the Göta Canal from 1810 to 1832. The Copenhagen Convention of 1857 abolished the dues and made the Danish Straits an international waterway. A fixed connection was opened across the strait in 2000, the Øresund Bridge. Notable islands: Denmark Amager, Southam, Paberholm, an artificial island; Middelgrensføttet, an artificial island; Flakefortet, an artificial island; Sweden Ven, Gren, an artificial island outside port of Landskrona.